I was standing outside our house, barefoot, holding only a small torn bag and shaking from head to toe. My stepmother, Linda, had just pushed me out with such force that I almost fell into the muddy gutter. Her eyes were cold, colder than ice, and her voice was like a knife cutting through my heart. "Get out! Your father is gone, and everything here belongs to me now," she shouted. But that was not the part that broke me. The part that broke me was what I had seen minutes before, something no child should ever see. I had walked into my father's room, hopping to tell him good night. Instead, I saw Linda standing over him with a small bottle in her hand. And my father, my strong, gentle father, was lying on the bed, not breathing, his eyes half open. Linda saw me. She froze. I froze too. Then she spoke in a quiet but deadly voice. "If you say a word, you will join him." That was when she grabbed me by the arm, dragged me through the living room, opened the door, and threw me outside. And before I could even cry, she locked the door, took the keys, and walked away like nothing happened. You may think that was the end of the story. But no, my child, what happened next will shock you. Let me take you back to the beginning. Before all this, I lived a simple life with my father, George. He was the kind of man who always smiled, even when life was hard. He would pat my head and say, "Life is tough, but you must be tougher." He cooked for me, helped me with school, and told me bedtime stories about brave lions and wise kings. Every morning before leaving for work, he kissed my forehead and said the same thing. "You are my sunshine." My mother had passed away when I was very small, and though I missed her, my father made sure I never felt alone. It was just the two of us, living in our small but warm home. We didn't have much, but we had love, and that was enough. But everything changed the day Linda came into our lives. My father met her at the supermarket. She smiled at him, touched his arm gently, and talked with a sweetness that didn't feel real. My father fell for her quickly. I was only 10 at the time, so I didn't understand what adults meant when they said, "Some smiles hide sharp teeth." I only knew that my father seemed happy, and I thought I should be happy too. She moved into our house after 6 months. At first, she pretended to like me. She brought me candy, called me sweetie, and braided my hair. But when my father wasn't around, her smile changed. It was no longer sweet, it was thin and dangerous, like a snake waiting to strike. She began giving me too much work, washing plates, sweeping floors, cleaning windows, even scrubbing the bathroom. And when I complained, she would shout at me. "Stop being lazy. You think the world revolves around you." I told my father once, but she cried and told him I was lying. She said she loved me like her own child, and my father believed her. He wiped my tears and said, "Maybe it was a misunderstanding." I didn't want to make him sad, so I kept quiet after that. But I watched her. I saw how she counted the money my father brought home. I saw how her eyes followed him whenever he opened his bank app. I saw how she asked strange questions about my father's property, who owned what, where the documents were, and how much savings he had. My father had a large fund saved for my future. He planned to use it for my school, my dreams, and my life. I didn't know the exact amount, but it was a lot enough to attract a greedy woman. Slowly, she began to control everything. His clothes, his meals, even the way he talked to me. If he gave me a gift, she frowned. If he praised me, she sighed loudly. If he hugged me, she pretended to cough. Then things got worse. One evening, my father came home tired and told her that he had changed the name on his savings account. He said he wanted to make sure I was safe if anything happened to him. That night, I heard them fighting in their room. She screamed. "So the money is for her. What about me, after everything I've done for you?" My father replied, "Linda, it's for my child. She is my responsibility." She didn't speak after that. The silence felt dangerous. The next day, she cooked dinner, but she refused to eat any of it. When my father tried to talk to her, she smiled too widely, like someone pretending to be calm. That night was the last night I saw him alive. I had finished washing dishes and was about to go to bed when I decided to say goodnight to my father. I opened the door quietly and saw Linda leaning over him. She held a bottle and watched him with eyes that looked empty of emotion. I watched as she placed the bottle into her pocket and touched his face, coldly, almost like she was checking if he was finally gone. That was when she saw me. She didn't panic. She didn't run. She didn't even act surprised. She simply walked toward me, gripping my arm so tightly that her nails dug into my skin. "You saw nothing," she whispered, "and you will say nothing." Then she dragged me outside and threw me out, and the door slammed shut. That was the highest moment of fear in my life, but it was only the beginning. I sat outside the house, shaking, confused, and crying silently. The street was dark, the night was cold, and I didn't know where to go. I was just a young girl who had lost her father and her home in one night. I thought things could not get worse. But they did. Suddenly, the door opened again, slowly. Linda stepped out, holding something close to her chest. It was a brown envelope, the envelope where my father kept the documents for the house and the details of his savings. She saw me looking and smiled. "You were never part of this family," she said calmly, "and now you never will be." I felt my heart break into 1,000 pieces, but before I could speak, a black car pulled up in front of the house. Linda turned and said, "You're going far away tonight." The black car stopped right in front of me, its headlights shining so bright that I had to cover my eyes. The engine made a low, deep sound, like something waiting to swallow me whole. My heart was beating so fast I could hear it in my ears. The back door opened slowly. I expected to see a police officer, or maybe a family friend. But what I saw instead made my whole body freeze. A strange man stepped out of the car. He was tall and thin, with a long scar running from his cheek to his neck. His eyes looked empty, like he didn't have a soul. He didn't smile, didn't blink. He just stared at me like I was an object. Linda walked toward him and whispered something in his ear. He nodded like he already knew what to do. Then he looked at me again and said in a cold, deep voice, "Get in." I shook my head. No, please, where are you taking me?" Linda stepped forward and grabbed my chin so hard that it hurt. "You think you have a choice," she hissed. "You don't. You saw what you shouldn't have seen. Now get in the car." My knees felt weak. The night air suddenly felt heavier. I looked at the dark street, hoping someone would come out, someone who would say, "Stop! What are you doing to that child?" But the street was empty. Everyone was asleep. Nobody heard my quiet sobbing. The man took a step closer. He didn't shout. He didn't threaten me. He simply grabbed my arm with his rough hand and pushed me toward the open car door. I wanted to scream for help. I wanted to run. But my body felt frozen. My feet wouldn't move. I sat in the back seat as the door closed, trapping me inside. The windows were tinted so dark I couldn't see anything outside. The man got into the driver's seat, and Linda didn't even look at me. She just turned around and went back into the house, the same house where my father's body still lay. The engine roared, and the car drove off into the night. Ugh. Now let me tell you something about fear. Fear is not just when your hands shake. Fear is not just when you cry. Fear is when you do know why something is happening, or where you're being taken, or what someone plans to do with you. That was the fear sitting beside me in that car. For minutes, maybe hours, the man didn't speak. He didn't explain anything. He just drove deeper into the darkness while I wiped tears from my face with the sleeve of my shirt. At some point, he stopped the car, not at a house, not on a road, but in the middle of an empty field. The moon was the only light shining on us. He turned around and stared at me again. My heart stopped. Was he going to hurt me? Was this the end? He reached into his pocket. My breath caught. But what he brought out was not a knife, not a rope, none of the things I feared. He brought out a folded paper. He threw it on my lap. "Take it." My hands shook as I opened the paper. It wasn't a drawing. It wasn't a letter. It was a bank document, my father's bank document, the one Linda had stolen from the house just before she pushed me out. "Your father saved all his money for you," the man said, still not blinking. "Linda doesn't want anyone to know that. She paid me to take you far away." I looked up quickly, Far away where? He didn't answer. What about my dad? I cried. I saw her kill him. He looked at me with a strange expression. Not pity, not kindness, but something that looked thoughtful. You're not safe with her, he said. She wants everything your father left behind. She doesn't want you alive to claim it. My chest tightened. I could barely breathe. Everything felt like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. But why are you helping me? I asked. He didn't answer immediately. He looked out the window and sighed. Finally, he said, I'm not helping you. I'm helping myself. Linda said she will pay me the rest of the money when I bring proof that you're gone. My heart dropped. He opened his door and stepped outside. My hands shook violently. I looked at the door beside me. I looked at the field around us. My mind screamed. Run, run, run. But my body was still frozen with fear. Suddenly, he opened my door. I gasped and pushed myself back, my back hitting the other side of the seat. Get out, he said calmly. Please, don't hurt me, I whispered. He didn't look angry. He didn't look pleased. He just looked tired. I'm not going to hurt you, he said. But I'm also not taking you back home. I'll leave you here. When she asks for proof, I'll tell her I handled it. He took one step back. You're on your own now. I slowly stepped out of the car, my feet touching the cold ground. My heart was pounding so loudly it felt like the whole night could hear it. The man walked back to his car, got inside, and slammed the door. I watched the brake lights glow red. Then the engine growled loudly. The car began to move. No, please don't leave me here, I cried, running after the car. Please, I don't know where I am. I don't know what to do. But the car didn't stop. It drove off into the night, leaving me alone in an empty field with only the sound of my own crying. I wrapped my arms around myself and looked around. There were no houses, no lights, no road signs, only darkness. For the first time in my life, I felt like the whole world had forgotten me. Ugh. But something happened next. Something that changed everything. Just as I wiped my tears with my trembling hands and looked toward the empty road, I saw a pair of headlights coming toward me from the opposite direction. A different car. A small blue car. It was driving slowly, almost like the driver was searching for something or someone. My heart raced again. Was it a kidnapper? Was it someone sent by Linda? Was it someone dangerous? Or was it someone who would save me? The car stopped right in front of me. The door opened. And when I saw who stepped out of that car, my mouth fell open. Because it was someone I never expected to see at this place, at this hour, or at this moment. The blue car's door opened slowly, and the person who stepped out made my knees almost give way. It was Mr. Harris, my father's closest friend and work partner, the man who had known my dad long before I was even born. He had visited our home many times. He always brought me small gifts like pencils, storybooks, or biscuits. He always laughed loudly and called me Little Star. And now he was standing right in front of me, in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the night. Emma, he said softly, his voice filled with shock. My goodness, what are you doing out here? The moment I heard my name, I burst into tears. I ran into his arms, shaking from head to toe. He hugged me tight, pressing my head against his chest. It's okay, he whispered. You're safe now, you're safe. I sobbed harder. She killed my dad. She took his money. She sent me away. Please don't take me back to her, please. He didn't even ask who she was. His grip tightened around me like he already knew. He lifted my face gently. Your father called me yesterday, he said. He told me he changed the beneficiary on his account. He told me he felt something was wrong. He asked me to look after you if anything happened to him. Fresh tears rolled down my cheeks. He continued. I tried calling him all day, but he didn't answer. Something told me to drive around and check the roads in case something bad happened. And somehow I found you. I looked up at him through wet eyelashes. You came looking for me. Of course I did, he said. Your father was my brother in every way except blood. He opened the back door of his car. "Come in, you're coming with me." I didn't hesitate. I sat inside, and he covered me with a blanket he kept in the car. He drove away, and for the first time that night, I felt hope. We reached his house, a warm, quiet home with yellow lights glowing softly through the windows. His wife, Mrs. Harris, gasped the moment she saw me. "Oh my goodness," she cried. "Emma, darling, what happened to you?" She wrapped me in her arms, while Mr. Harris quickly explained what he guessed had happened. "She's not safe," he said. "Not with that woman." Mrs. Harris nodded firmly. "Then she will stay here, for as long as she needs." They gave me warm food, clean clothes, and a soft bed. I fell asleep the moment my head touched the pillow. But the next morning brought the truth. I woke to the sound of voices downstairs, worried, angry voices. I walked down quietly and saw Mr. and Mrs. Harris talking to two police officers. My heart skipped. One of the officers knelt beside me. "Hello, sweetheart, I'm Officer Reed. Can you tell us what happened last night?" My lips trembled. I looked at Mr. Harris, who nodded gently. "Tell them everything, little star." So I did. I told them about Linda, about the poisoned bottle, about my father on the bed, about being dragged outside, about the strange man, about the empty field, about being abandoned. I didn't leave anything out. The officers listened without interrupting. When I finished, Officer Reed placed a hand on my shoulder. "You're very brave," he said. "You did the right thing." The other officer added, "This is serious. We are going to investigate right away." In that moment, I felt something I hadn't felt since my father died: safety. The investigation moved fast. The police went to our house immediately. They found Linda acting like she was grieving, pretending to cry, pretending to be innocent. But everything began to fall apart when they asked where I was. "She ran away," she lied quickly. "She was angry with me. I tried to comfort her." But they were no longer listening to her lies. They searched the bedroom and found the empty bottle hidden under the bed. They checked my father's body. They saw the signs, the ones I had seen but didn't understand. They took fingerprints. They checked her phone records and found messages between her and the strange man. Her greed and her plan were exposed. That same evening, they arrested her. Linda screamed, cried, lied, begged, but it was too late. The truth had caught up with her. She had destroyed the life of the man who loved her, and she had tried to do the same to his child. But justice was finally standing in her face. The police soon found the strange man, too. He confessed quickly. He said Linda promised him money if he would remove me from the picture. He admitted that he abandoned me because he couldn't bring himself to kill a child. Both of them were taken away for a long, long time. And for the first time in many days, I could breathe again. But there was something else, something that surprised even me. The court handled my father's assets. Because he had already changed the documents before he died, everything legally belonged to me: the house, the savings, the future he had prepared for his daughter. The judge placed me under the care of Mr. and Mrs. Harris, who accepted without hesitation. "You have a home with us," Mrs. Harris said, wiping my tears. "Your father trusted us with your life, and we will honor that." I hugged her tightly. I knew nothing could bring my father back. I knew no amount of money could fill the empty space in my heart. But I also knew this: I was safe, I was loved, and I was not alone. Years passed. I grew up with the Harris family. They treated me like their own child. I went to school, studied hard, and built a life my father would have been proud of. His savings helped me go to college, start my career, and build the future he dreamed of for me. I visited his grave often. I always brought flowers. I always whispered, "I made it, Dad, I'm okay. Your sunshine survived." Life lesson. Sometimes, the people who claim to love you can be the ones who hurt you the most. But God always places the right people in your path, people who will protect you, guide you, and help you rise again. Evil may win for a moment, but truth always wins in the end. And that, my child, is how I survived the darkest night of my life, and how love and justice brought me back into the light.